Hello? Okay. Everything seems to be working right now. Um, okay. Hello everyone. My name is Gary, and today we're going to have a programming stream again. Um, so, um, so first, wait a second. Sorry. Um, so let's just drop right in. So last uh, okay, wait, let me check other things because okay. In the last programming stream, I've taught you a bit about variables, um, how to initialize a variable, or rather instantiate a variable, um, and also how to do comparisons with variables, how to manipulate variables, and we've also briefly discussed functions and arrays. So um, let's go over everything real quickly. So if we have constant variable, this is unchanging. Um, let variable is one. This is changing. So I can do variable two. Um, and if we want to define a function, we can use function, function name, console log hello world, and if you then do then call the function name, then it will be executed as seen here. And we can also use parameters, um, and then we can define a parameter like 12, and you can then see here the parameter value here. Finally, arrays. Const small array is, and this is how you instantiate your array, and you can fill it with different values. We also learned about if blocks, for loops, switch case, um, and I believe that was mainly it. So what are we going to do now? We're going to look at objects, classes, and the keyword this. Um, these are um, these three concepts are pretty important, um, because that forms the basis for object-oriented programming. So let's start with something simple. So okay, let me open something up. Oh no, wait. So okay. So first, let's begin with something simple. Let's say we wanna describe. Oh no, wait. First, let me explain what an object is, because that's the basis for the rest of the stream. So what's an object? An object essentially is an entity within your program. Um, and an entity can be anything. It can be a date, like January 1st, 2010. It can be a let's say what's also a date. It can be not a date, an object. It can be a person. you can describe a person in an object. You can do you can store an image in an object, even audio and video. Basically, uh, anything within JavaScript. In fact, even a number or a string can be considered an object. So let's take a look. Okay, so last time I've already discussed an object, and you probably didn't even notice it. And that object is an array. So if I just do this const an array, this essentially already is an object. It's an array object, but it's also considered an array. So how can we determine what kind of what the variable type is? So let's do const a string is string, and let's also add a function, a function, and this function that only does console log hello world. Now, let's do console log, and then type of a number. And if we look here, we can see that the type of a number is, well, it's just a number. So okay, let's see if I can make this window a little bit bigger. So here you can see the number is just a number. Is of the type number. Let's see what the string says. String says it's a string. An array is an array. Oh, well, okay. So we can see that an array actually is defined as an object. So how can you determine whether an array is an array or an object? Well, we can explain it later, but first let's go on. The function is of the type function. Now there's another function type. It's const arrow function is, and that is also considered a function. Okay, so let's go on with defining an actual object. So how do we actually define an object? Let's comment this out. So there are multiple ways to create an object. The simplest way is just to create an object variable. So let's do const object is this, basically. Okay, let's copy this and let's place it here. And we can see that this already is an object. So what can we do with this object actually? Well, it's actually pretty simple. In this object, you can actually store various kinds of variables or data. Well, we don't actually store variables. We store, I believe, properties. So let's say this object has a property number, and the value is 1. Or we can say a string is a string. So if we now do console log object, we can now see the number and the string stored in this. So this doesn't seem that useful, but it can actually be pretty useful. The most common use for objects is to use it as a dictionary or a map. In JavaScript, there are, I believe, map objects um, and dictionary objects. I don't know if dictionary objects exist, but I do think map objects exist. Um, yeah, map objects do exist. Um, so yeah, but let's keep it simple. We're just going to focus on objects. So we have an object with two properties, property number with value 1 and property string with value string. And you can add as many properties as you want. Um, so let's so we can consider number the key and this the value. So yeah, so let's create a more descriptive object. Let's say we want to describe a streamer, and let's say its name is Gary 6JK. Occupation is a programmer. Age is 37. So if we now console log this object, we can see the values: name, occupation, age. Okay, so this is all nice and handy, but still doesn't really feel like something that's useful. Well, how do I actually use it? Well, what if you just want the name of the streamer? Then you can do dot name, and then you only get the name property. Same goes for occupation or the age. So okay, so what I've done is I put a capital A here. So if I use a lower a, you can see that it's undefined. This tells us that properties are case sensitive, and actually a lot of things in JavaScript, if not everything, is case sensitive. So we can have a variable called streamer, and we can have a const streamer is 10. And if we now do console log on both, then we can see that we get both values, both the streamer object as well as the streamer constant. So that's something you need to be careful of, that you check the case. So if you use an uppercase A, then you'll have to use an uppercase A as well in subsequent usages. Okay, so what if we have something like hobby 1 is programming, hobby 2 is and I know this is not really an efficient way to do this, but let's say hobby 2 is music, and hobby 3 is gaming. So what we can do is, we know there are 3 hobbies, 1, 2, and 3. We can now do a for loop, let I is 1, I smaller than or equal to 3, I plus plus. And now we want to console log every hobby. So sure, we can do streamer hobby 1 and then streamer hobby 2, streamer hobby 3, but with this for loop we can iterate through some of these values. So what we can do now is, well, what we can't do is do something like hobby plus I. That's not really going to work. So how do we fix this? Yeah, as you can see, we now have another number. So yeah, so how do we combine this value with this value? Well, we can treat it as how we treat an array. Okay, so hobby doesn't exist, so it needs to be a string. And now we can see programming, music, and gaming. So what we can do is streamer, and then the property key, and then we can now procedurally retrieve certain properties. We can also use just name or streamer.name. Both are pretty much the same. Technically, they are just the same. So that's also what you can do. And this is basically the same as how you do it with arrays, except arrays always have numerical keys. So yeah, that's in short how you can easily use um, an object. So is there any limit what you can store on an object? Or as I know, not really. So let's just do this and do hobbies and add an array. And we're going to move this over here and then remove every property key here. And so now you can see okay, let's not do this in a for loop. So now we can see that hobbies is stored in an array. So yeah, you can combine objects with arrays and even other objects. So let's say the meta is I won't don't do meta, but other food, spaghetti, um, and you can do this practically infinitely. You can just nest objects within objects within objects, and the same goes for arrays. You can nest arrays within arrays within arrays. Um, so as you can see, we have an other object within the main streamer object. Okay, so but how do we access this food array? Well, we can do this by just going streamer, and then we can do it in square brackets and use a string to identify others, but we can also do dot other and dot food. Now, if you want to use square brackets instead, you can do streamer other, and food. Or you can even combine the two, so streamer, other, and then dot food. And all three are basically the same thing. So let's move this again. So, okay. So yeah, that's the basics of an object. Now let's add a new file, um, and let's call them multi-dimensional array, because that's one thing I didn't explain previously, and that's still pretty much important. Multi-dimensional array. Let's remove this. So let's say we have a constant called tic tac toe, and we have we want to have a 3 by 3 grid. So let's say we have an x here, comma, empty, comma, a circle, um, empty string, comma, x, comma, empty string, circle, comma, empty string, comma, empty string. So if we do console log tic tac toe, and we load in this oh crap. How do we do this again? Show preview, yeah. And then we can see that there is an array with 3 arrays within it. So okay, that's nice and all, but how do we get this the center x, for example, or we want to check if this is empty? Well, what we can do is we know arrays are 0 indexed, so the first item has index 0. The second index has second row has second item has index 1, and the third has index 2. And it also goes to the nested values. So let's see, we want the center one. We know it's not item 1, it's item 2. And we just do 1, and then we get and now we get the values from the second item. Next we do 1, and then we get the x. So the same goes for if we want to get the circle in the first row, we can use 0 and 2, and now we get a circle. So that's basically nested arrays, or multi-dimensional arrays in short. They're not really complicated. It's something you need to be familiar with. Okay, next. Let's go back to objects. So review. So far we've discussed how to create an object like this, but it's not really practical. Creating objects, and let's copy everything over. So there are multiple ways to create an object, one of which is to create an object prototype. Mind you, this is a very outdated way of creating an object. and it's barely used anymore, but it does allow me to well, to basically show you how certain things can work um, in a simple way, in a way that you're familiar with, because you already know how to make functions. You already know what a property is. So let's start with um, a person object. So we create an object called person. So what do we do? Do function person, and we generally use a camel cased or is it camel or is it okay, let me check. I believe it's studly case. Also, oh yeah, okay, it's studly caps. There are two ways we can use caps in variable names and function names. We have uh, camel case, um, and we have studly caps. So camel case is the first letter is always lowercase, and each word that belongs to this variable, so camel case, starts with a capital letter. Studly case is every word starts with a capital letter, so studly and caps. There's also a snake case, so const snake case. Snake, we generally don't use snake case in JavaScript, um, but it's not incorrect. The thing you need to remember about JavaScript is, and then not just JavaScript, but programming in general, a lot of programming languages leave things open for you to decide. There are some there are a few programming languages that put limits on names like variables and things, but generally speaking, there are no hard rules or hard limitations programming languages set for you. Um, that being said, there are naming conventions. For example, in JavaScript, especially when you use the Airbnb, um, yeah, I'd say rule sets. Um, in most cases, there's a convention when naming a variable, and the variable naming is always use camel case for normal variables. Okay. So okay, before we continue further, there's one thing I forgot to explain in the last stream, is variable names. So scripts. So let's create a variable name const var is 1. Now, right now we have a small problem. So if we use the preview, okay, let's also copy this. Let's paste this. So what you can see is var is giving us an error. Why? Because var is um, var is a reserved word. Same goes for null. Same goes for true and false. And you also think that undefined is undefined is technically not a reserved word. So we can just do undefined is 1, and it works. Why? Because, well, undefined can be defined, which is also why, let's say, const test is undefined, and console if test, then console log yay. Okay, so this technically works, and if we do yay and then test, oh no, so console log test. Okay, so this does do as intended, but there are there are all the browsers that where there might be an issue with this. So be careful with using undefined. Undefined probably shouldn't use it as a variable. But yeah, there are reserved keywords for variable names like const. That's obviously not allowed. Const let also not allowed. If, for, while. So yeah, that's one of the limitations of variable names. So what are other limitations? Let's do const and then type of a variable type is 1. This also isn't allowed. This also isn't allowed. This isn't allowed. So what are what characters are allowed? Well, anything from A to Z, both uppercase and lowercase. Underscore, and I believe the dollar sign. Technically, numbers are also allowed, but there's a big but. If you do const 1 time, then this will throw out an error because numbers may not be placed at the start. They can only be placed within the variable itself. So that's basically variable names. What is allowed, what isn't allowed. So in short, allowed characters A to Z, both upper and lowercase. Underscore and dollar sign. Numbers, but not at the start. So those are basically the characters that you can use as variable names. I believe you can also use non-ASCII characters, but I wouldn't use them because those could cause issues with code. So I'll stick to these characters. So like let's look. So if I do const, okay, so an emote isn't allowed as a variable name, as expected. But let's say if we do this, okay, Japanese characters, for example, are allowed as variable names, but I wouldn't use them because they can cause issues with writing code. At least when we're trying to render code on computers that don't have a Japanese font, or where the font doesn't have Japanese characters. And the same goes for Cyrillic characters or whatever character. Um, so yeah, I avoid anything that isn't an alphanumerical character, underscore or dollar sign. And in the case of numbers never can, variable names can't start with a number. So let's start with actually creating an object now. So let's start with function person. Okay, so like I said, most variables and actually for most function names also use camel case. However, because we will define this as an object prototype, we'll use studly case. This allows us to distinguish between a variable and an object prototype. So basically, this is already good enough. We can also do a person name, and we can then do this name is name. Now, how do we use this? Well, we can technically use console log person Gary, and technically it works. It's a function, but we can't actually do something with it. If we do const Gary is person Gary, and we use Gary, we don't actually get an object back. Like if we do Gary.name, we don't get something. Okay. Show preview. Yeah, because if we now use Gary, we get undefined. So how do we actually use this? Because this, if we call this as a function, it doesn't return anything. If we use return name, then yeah, we get Gary back. But we want to have a person object. So what do we do? Instead of just using person and Gary, we add the keyword new. And now we can see that person is a person object with property Gary. So as you can see, we use the keyword this here, and this refers to the current object it's contained within. In this case, the person Gary is this object. So yeah, that's basically how we can create an object. So, and this isn't just limited to one person. You can also do const Gary Joe new person Joe. You can have a person called Mary, new person Mary, and yeah, this way you can create more than one person. Um, so basically, an object prototype allows you to reuse the same object with the same properties and all that stuff. So what can we do next with this? Well, we can attach functions to this person. So let's say, okay, let's first say age. This age is age, and let's use default value undefined. And say, let's say we want to set the age of this person. What we can do now is Gary.age is 10 or 32 or 37. And as you can see, the age is now set to 37. So next, well, not next. So that's nice and all, but we also want to be able to use some well, what we want to do is let's see, that's a good question. What can you do that's a bit more dynamic? Oh, I know. Name, first name, and last name. So first name is first name, and let's do last name. This last name is last name. So what we want to do now is, and as you can see, we have two properties defined, but that doesn't mean we can't add another property dynamically. So we can set the age to 37. Gary hobbies is programming and music and gaming, and we can add new properties dynamically as we go along. So that's nice, but what we also want is we want to have a function that gives us the first name and the last name combined. So we want something like this name, or maybe a function called this name, and give us the first and last name combined. Now that's not really that difficult. What you can do is this name is function, and then use return this first name dot. Okay, sorry, this is PHP code what I'm writing. I'm still in PHP mode sometimes. So this is also a possibility. So how do you use it? We can then use this name. Oh wait, this name is not a function. How is this not a name, not a function? Oh, let's check. Oh, huh? This name? Did I do something wrong? Console. Oh, it's not this. It's Gary name. And then we do this, and then we get Gary Katamono as the full name. So that's a way to add a function to a person, but this isn't exactly elegant. How do we actually want to do this? Well, it's quite simple actually. Remember when I said this is a function of an object prototype? Well, we've got a property called prototype. You can do person dot prototype dot, and let's call it name. Actually, let's call it. Let's give it a correct name. Get name. So let's change this to get name. And this is a function. And then return this first name plus this last name. And as you can see, we now see we can now see that Gary Kimono is also returned. This is thanks to this prototype. So yeah, that's actually how prototypes work. You can create a function with yeah with properties defined within them, and you can even define your own properties outside of this object definition, outside this prototype, and we can add functions to this prototype. Well, technically, sure, they are functions, but generally we call these types of functions that belong to a set of objects. We call them methods. I don't know exactly what the etymology is for the term method, but just remember we call these things methods because we because they are just called like that. So so you can define a function like this. Get first name is function blah 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 return this first name. But yeah, let's see. Is there a difference between this and this? Well, actually, there is a difference. So let's create a new person. Let's call them Joe. New person is Joe. Man, Joe Man. Let's just call him Joe Man. So if we do this and do get Joe get name, and we also do so let's not do get first name. This age is undefined. Get age. And Gary get age, and Joe get age. Okay, so what we can do is Gary dot get age is function return 37, and that way we can override the method basically. So for Joe Man, get age is undefined, and for Gary, the get age is 37. Can we do that for name? So, let most certainly Joe get name function return Joe Mama, and you can see that only for Joe the function the method is changed. Generally, you don't do this because that's not elegant. but you get the point. But what if we want to change the prototype of get name overall? So let's say person prototype get name function return this last name plus this first name. So now you can see that we can override the original method with a new method. Can we do that with get age? So person prototype get age function, and we do return not set. Well, we can't. Why not? Because this actually isn't a prototype function. It's not part of the person prototype. It's defined as a property within the person, and you can already see that here. You can see age, first name, get age, and last name, and these are all properties. And this isn't part of the prototype. If you click on prototype, we can see get age and get name as separate prototype functions or methods. So what we want to do is we want to remove this and this age. So why do we want to do it like this? Hey Anna, I'm sorry I didn't notice you being here. Oh yeah, and thanks Omar and Anna for following. What I'm doing now is a program stream. This stream might be shorter than the last program stream, which was last week. I try to do program streams every Friday. It might not be every Friday, but I'll try. And what I want to do is well, spread the word about programming, how cool programming can be, and maybe help people teach help people learn how to do basic programming. So um, okay, so what we have now is okay. What I'm first going to do is I'm going to disable something in Songify because we're not going to announce the songs to chat because that's going to get annoying real quick. Um, but why do we want to uh, set a prototype method? The main reason why we do it like this and not like how we did it before is because um, every time you create a new instance of an object, it also creates a new instance of that function. So if you have 10 objects, you have 10 functions that are being stored as a property. When you use prototypes, the function only gets stored once. And you can see that if I change this prototype, it changes the prototype for every other object. So yeah, that's basically how prototypes work. There are other things you can do with objects, but let's first go back to something a bit more simple, so that um, we can do something cool, I guess. So let's do objects and iterating of iterating through objects.html, and let's do show preview. Let's not do this. Let's go here, copy this. Okay. So this is the part where uh, you don't have to remember everything because you can always look it up. But it's nice to know it exists. So let's do const uh, a dictionary is, and let's do things like A is 1, B is 2, C is 100, D is 5, 4, 4. And what we want to do now is go through each property and get its value. Now, how do you do that? Let's first create a new variable, uh, dictionary keys. So what we can do is A, B, C, and D. And let's do it like this. So first, do for loop, let I is 0, I smaller than dictionary keys dot length. Oh, that's also something I forgot to explain last time when discussing arrays, I believe, and that's using length. I believe I need to check. Did I do that? No, I com probably completely forgot about the length keyword. And that that was pretty uh, dumb of me. So with length, you get the length of an array. So in this case, the length is 4. What was okay. So what we can now do is console log dictionary, and then dictionary keys I. So what does this exactly mean? As show preview. Okay, why doesn't it work? I do console log x. Okay, this show preview. Why doesn't it show the preview? Um, test s. Okay, that sucks. Let's show preview again. Okay, now it refreshes. So as you can see, it does. Okay, why doesn't it live preview? Okay, let's first close all. Um, show preview. Test. Okay, now it live previews. Okay, let's save it again and let's simplify it. So let's store this in separate const key is dictionary keys, and then we can do dictionary key. So what it does is it on the first loop it takes the key A and then searches for dictionary A, and same for B, C, and D. Well, this isn't exactly practical because say we have E, and now E doesn't appear. So how do we fix this? Well, we do simple function. We do object dot keys and then dictionary. So what we now have is we look for every key within the dictionary object. And if we do console log dictionary keys, and we scroll up a bit, you can see that it automatically extracts every object key into an array. So that's how you can iterate through an object. But there is a another way. Last time I talked about the for each method. For each is a method that exists on array objects, and what it does, it iterates through each item within an array. So if we, what we can do is, let's remove this. Dictionary keys for each and function key. And if we do console log key, we can see A, B, C, D, E. And if we do E, 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 then it also gets reflected. So with this, we can easily iterate through each key of the dictionary. But we want the dictionary value associated with the key, which is also simple. We can just do dictionary and then within the square brackets key. And that's how we can also get the object. So yeah, that's basically the basics for the for each. Now let's create another this keyword. So we've discussed the this keyword, and we've done it in this context within a function, within a object prototype. So let's do it differently. Let's do call this object request. Sometimes well, not request, options. Sometimes we need to send an object to a function, and that will use the object as a dictionary for things to do. So let's say we have a function do something, and we call the parameter opt, and let's say we want to do something like console log name, not name, opt name, and what we then do is do something options, and of course we need to show this, and of course this is undefined. We can use name test. But what we also can do is something like if opts show name, we can do opts show name. So if the show name property exists, and what we actually also want to do is wait, no. If we do type of show name, we also already know that if it's not defined, it's undefined. And if it's a function, then it's a function that we can execute. So if show name is a function, we can do this name, console log this name. So basically this refers to the current object. But okay, and we can also shorten this by just doing this. And if we do something like console log opts, we get this. We can just we see that show name is a property with a function name show name. So this is also how you can define a property function or a function property. There's another type of function, and that's the arrow function. So let's use the arrow functions. Let's show name again. Console log this name. So what happens if we do this? Show name again, and we set this show name again. Oh, huh. So apparently something happens. Something doesn't seem to work if I use this within an array function. Well, to understand what happens here, we need to know how an array function works. So an array function is a shorter version of a function with one exception. The this keyword doesn't technically work the way you think it is. It does. So in this case, we use the array function on options. But if we remove, if we add this here, we can see that. Okay, let's remove this one for S. Okay, if we just do this, Control S, and if we use this, you can see that that the current object and the current name is shown here. Let's we add this again, and you can still see it here. Okay, but if we use this on the array function, suddenly we notice that it refers to the window. So what this actually does is this normally refers to the current object it resides in, but when using an array function, it uses the next higher object. So yeah, that's something you need to take into account. So how do I explain it as easily as possible? Let's make a comment. So okay, let's say you have a window object, and the window object contains an options object. At this point, options is this. However, if you add an arrow function to the option to the options object, this actually instead it refers to the window. So this is a difficult concept. So that's why most people don't bother with arrow functions. But at some point, it can get really handy to use arrow functions. I currently don't have a good example of that right now, but I can write an example. So let's say we have this, and we use something like const combine names. Then we can do return this first name plus this last name. and we can then use combine names, um, and then let's show preview. Does it work? It does seem to work. Yeah. So if we use an X, yeah, it still works. So what if you used normal function instead? So function, and this is also a way to define a function. Now you can see that this function returns to undefined twice. So why is this? If we now do console log this, um, for some reason this stops referring to this person object. Let's do the arrow function again, and if we use the arrow function, we can see that suddenly it does refer to the current object again. So that's one of the ways an arrow function can be handy. So we have creating objects, this keyword. So yeah, that's how this keyword basically works. With this, you can refer to the current object it resides in. Okay, so now we've done something like this. So let's summarize what we've done. First, I've explained what an object is, how to define an object, and that you can nest objects within objects. We did a bit of variable name, how variable names should be defined. What we also have done is, multi-dimensional arrays, pretty easy. We also handled prototypes, object prototypes. We've iterated through objects, and finally we've discussed a bit what the this keyword was. So let's create a new application. Let's do another iteration of FizzBuzz. Okay, so by now you might think, why FizzBuzz again? That's a really good question. So let's take this version of FizzBuzz. Did I forget to? Okay, no, this is the version of FizzBuzz I want to keep. Okay, let's just copy over this entire piece of script. We're going to expand FizzBuzz a bit. So let's first start with turning this function into an object prototype. So let's create a function FizzBuzz. Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to leave this empty. Do FizzBuzz prototype. Get value is function, and number is 15. Let's see if we can shorten this. Show preview. So we have this. FizzBuzz prototype get range is function max is 15, and we do a min is null. We're going to do something with that as well. So first, let's copy this. And let's also copy this. And let's do a return values. So yeah, this is basically how we originally used this bus. So let's remove all this and apply it all. So let's do, what we also want to do is const fizz buzz is new fizz buzz. So okay, so what have we done at this point? We've created a fizzbuzz object with two prototypes: get value and get range. So what we're going to do now is we want to use the fizzbuzz instance object instance to do the fizzbuzz calculations. So what we're now going to do is use this fizzbuzz object. So first, const values is fizzbuzz dot get range. Okay, so we're still getting some errors. So if we do submit, yeah, it's giving us a few errors. So here, this is one part. Max is already declared. So if we remove this and Control S, and we submit, yeah, there's another issue. Get fizzbuzz value doesn't exist. That's correct. Well, we can't access this object, and we don't want to access this object. We want to access the current fizzbuzz object we're in. Say we have another fizzbuzz object. We don't want the two fizzbuzz objects to interfere. So what we're doing now is this get value. Let's save and submit. And as you can see now, we get the regular fizzbuzz. Yeah, that's pretty cool. But at this point, we didn't actually set a range. So what we're going to do is we want to use this value to set the range, max range. And right now, if we submit, it doesn't use this value. So we're going to insert this here, steps value plus. We submit 15. If we do this, 16. So right now we have done the original fizzbuzz algorithm. That's pretty great. But there's one thing I want to do. What I want to do is const foobar is new fizzbuzz. And what foobar does is whenever a number is divisible by 7, we want to output foo. If it's divisible by 11, we want it to be to output bar. So how do we do this? Well, we can actually use something. Okay, let's see how can we do this. Well, as we saw in a previous uh previous well, if let's go to this. We've actually added an options a parameter to a function, and we can actually use that to expand our fizzbus. So uh, let's call this parameter outputs and do so. Outputs is, and then this outputs. So is outputs. Okay, so let's check um, if we can do something with it. So what we want to do is we want someone to make an array, or not an array. What we want is who is 7. Oh no, let's leave 7 is foo, 11 is bar. Yeah, let's do it like this. So now, how do we use this output? If we know 7 is 11, 7 is foo, 11 is bar. We also use capital letters, by the way. So let's comment this part out. And let's do let's check. So object keys, this outputs. So let's do object keys this outputs, and we can store it in a we can actually store it in a variable, but we can also just directly use for each here. And also, instead of using a normal function, we're going to use an array function. Why? Because what we're going to do is we're going to use a this keyword. And as you know, if we use a this keyword within a normal function, it messes with which object it picks. And in this case, it just picks this this fizzbus instance. So we do this outputs key. So what are we going to do? This, so if we just do this, we only get the current output, the current value. In this case, if the key is 7, we get foo as output. If it's 11, we get bars output. So if we do just output plus is, and we save it and we do submit, cannot convert undefined or null to object. And that's line 27. Okay, why do we get this issue? We get this issue because of this. So let's do this and change it to this. Let's now submit. Well, everything is now foo bar, foo bar, foo bar, foo bar. That's not really what we want, right? We want it to only display foo at okay, wait. Maybe it's better to do 2 and 7, because that way we don't have to have ridiculously large numbers. So yeah, so now we every value is foo bar. So but we know what the key is. The key is a numeric value. So if num and then modulo p, is 0. And if we now do this, yeah, we get 1 foo, 3 foo, 5 foo, bar foo, 9 foo, 11 foo, 13 foo, bar 15. Yeah. So right now we've made this work. However, at this point we can't use the original fizzbuzz anymore. Because if we use this, we get this error. So we're also going to give this a default value. So 3 is fizz, 5 is bar. And let's run this again, and we get the original fizzbuzz. Let's also do something better than this. Let's use a table, and the tr ID is output. So if we now submit it, it's going to give issues like this. Doesn't matter. So what we're going to do now, okay, values. So let's change things up a bit. So let's do full bar values, const, not full bar values, fizzbuzz values, fizzbuzz values, const full bar values is fizz full bar get range steps value. There are ways to make this better, but yeah. Oh wait, we can make it better. Let's do Control C. Const total steps is this, and use that variable instead of your total steps. So now we can use for let I is 0, I is smaller than total steps, I plus plus. Let's not add an additional space. So now we want to create new rows. Why did I do this? Okay, let's remove this. Let's paste this here. Do this, and then const row is document create element tr. This is what we're now going to do is we're going to manipulate the DOM, and with create element we can create a tr element, just like how we can make a table element or a div element. We can also create other elements. So, but let's go on. Const number is document create element td. Or rather, let's call this yeah, real number. Const fizzbuzz number, and let's also create make this a TED, and const full bar number is this. Now, real number text content is going to be I plus 1. So if we save this, then do output dot append child real number, and let's do submit. Okay, that's not what I wanted. I wanted to do this. Let's submit it. Oh yeah, of course. Row append child real number. Let's save this again. Submit. Then we can now see the numbers 1 to 15, 1 through 15. But if we submit it again, it just appends it continuously, and we want to completely clear the contents. So last time I told you about inner HTML, and normally I wouldn't use it, but in this case it's pretty simple to just use it, and that's what we're going to do. Output inner HTML is empty, so we're going to clear the contents of the inner HTML every time we run this function. So that saves us a lot of time removing each individual row. We can use it like that. We can individually remove rows, but that's going to take quite some time. This is the most efficient way to do this, and people generally seem to recommend it. So, what next? Fizz buzz number. Next content is fizz buzz values I, and we do row append child fizz buzz numbers. So let's see. Yeah. Now you can see 1 is 1, 2, 2, 3 is fizz, 4 is bar, 4 is 4, 5 is bar, and so on. Finally, we do the same for full bar number. And let's do full bar values. So if we submit it now, we get the same results: fizz buzz, full bar. So this now works. So and we can expand it. So let's do const fizz buzz full bar is new fizz buzz, and let's add these two. And let's add these. Control S. So let's do this. Let's copy this. Let's copy this part. So what we want to do is if all conditions for fizz, buzz, full, and bar is shown, you want it to show in the order fizz, buzz, in the order fizz, buzz, full, bar. So no full, fizz, buzz, bar. It has to be fizz, buzz, full, bar. And what you're going to learn is the order of how you initialize your object does matter oftentimes. Fizz, buzz, full, bar. We'll see. Control V. Control V. Fizz, buzz, full bar number. Fizz, buzz, full bar number. Fizz, buzz, full bar values. And also fizz, buzz, full bar. So if we now submit it, okay, so okay, so we do get a small issue. So what we're seeing right now is full fizz. The same issue that I talked about, full and fizz. And we do want it so that the order matters. So how can we fix this? Well, there are some ways we can fix this. For example, we can use an extra parameter saying the order, and let's actually do that. So order is null. So this order is order, and because it's null, we can use a null coalescing operator. Object keys outputs. So instead of using this, we can now use this order for each. And if we submit it, it's not going to interfere too much. So what we can do now is use 3, 5, 2, 7 and submit, and we can now see fizful, and that's exactly what we want. We want fizz buzz full bar. Let's increase the number to, I don't know, 40. Fizz buzz boo foo, fizz buzz foo. Let's change it to 60, and we get fizz buzz foo fizz bar. What? Ah, wait. Fizz bar. Oh, this has to be fizz buzz. So fizz buzz full bar. Okay, so if we do 15 times 14 is, and this is plus, so 210. If we go all the way down, we can now see fizz buzz full bar in this correct order. This isn't the only way you can solve it. The way I solve it is turn this into an array. But and this is a method I really like. You can also use a spread operator, but I'm not going to demonstrate it here because that would be too messy, and I want to leave FizzBuzz behind now. Spread operator. So let's go here, spread operator, and show preview. Let's do script, and create a function called spread demo. And the spread operator works for both normal functions as well as arrow functions. What is a spread operator? It's a special operator that allows you to essentially spread out certain values. What do I mean by that? Let's start with a simple thing like function. Say we have okay, let's not call it spread demo, but sum. What we can do is A and B. What we can do now is return A plus B. And if you then do console log sum 1, 2, and we can, okay, let's also do console clear here. Clear. Then we, if we do sum 1, 2, we can see 3. But what if we want to have the sum of more than one numbers? So let's just say 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The end result is always going to be 3. So what we can do is C, D, E, F, G, but that can't go on until infinity. So what we're going to do is, okay, yeah, okay. First of all, you can also use an array, of course, but that's not really practical. What we want to do is we want to add an infinite amount of parameter values. And the way we can do that is we keep the A, first number. And then we do ... numbers. So what does this do? Let's do console log first number. And as you can see, the first number is 1. But if we also do numbers, you can see that numbers is now an array consisting of all values after the first number. So this actually becomes, and if we do this, it's an empty array. So what the spread operator does is it turns any additional values you add or arguments you add to the function call, it turns it into an array. So in this case, it takes 2 through 8. So how can we use it in practice? Well, first do let number is first number. Numbers for each current number. Number plus is current number. And then return number. And then right now you can see that the value is 36. So that's basically a spread operator. Can you use spread operators for other things? Yeah, most certainly. Let's take, for example, let's go here. Let's do const sum array is 1, 2, 3, 4. And we want to have another array, const another array. And we want to have it contain 1, 2, 3, 4, but also 5, 6, 7, 8. What we can do is we can just type in 1, 2, 3, 4. But what if some array also contains 99, and we also want it in another array? Well, that's going to be a problem. So let's do console log another array, and another array needs to contain every value from some array and then its own array values. So what we can do is dot sum array, and now it adds every value from some array here at the beginning, followed by its own values. So let's do this, and what we can see here now is that it doesn't matter where you well, it does matter where you place it, but you can just use use the spread operator anywhere you want. So that's another way you can use spread operators. You can also use it on objects. So let's say people is Gary is one const person. So let's say person, and then do people person, and then Mary is 2. And let's console log people, and now you can see both properties are appearing in as one object. Okay, so now I've explained the spread operator, and you can use it for a lot of things. It's really handy, and I mainly use it for function parameters. Remember, if you use it as function parameters, it always has to be at the end. It can't be somewhere in the middle. That just doesn't work. If I try to do this something, then it's going to throw out an issue. So the order is always mandatory values, optional values, and at the end one spread operator parameter. Yeah. So now let's go to the last thing I wanna handle. Well, maybe not the last thing, because there's also something else I wanna do. Uh, but we'll see if I still feel like doing it. So let's go to classes. Um, let's just use the spread operator one. So what are classes? Well, what we've done is we've used uh, object prototypes, and object prototypes are great. They're easy to understand, um, but they have one big problem. At some point, it can get kind of messy. Um, Yesterday I had not yesterday, a few days ago I had a RPG Maker's stream. Um, so let's pull up RPG Maker to show you what I mean. Okay, um, let's open this in code. And let me switch over to the RPG Maker window. I'm going to show you the basic code of RPG Maker. It's by no means is bad code. It's just um, because the RPG Maker originally was built on the idea that older browsers were able to use it, like browsers that didn't support ES6, which is what I use. So this is the game temp object. As you can see, it uses prototype, initialize, blah 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 blah. It does use some ES6 features, but uh, a lot of things still use older code, and it can be a pain to port over your code to a new code base. So I know why they didn't bother doing changing everything to classes, but um, yeah, it can get really messy. As you can see, game temp is multiple lines with multiple prototypes. At some point, there are even ones with um, let's see, maybe it's in managers. Yeah, like okay, this for example is uh, okay. Let's say object prototypes and are often functions. This is a function, but a function is also a object. So you can attach things to a function object as well. So in this case, JSON to object method is attached to the store manager object. This is what we generally call a static method. A static method because it can be used outside of um, an object instance. You don't need to instantiate an object to use this method. Go ahead. Okay, let's switch back to my old code base, my own old code base. So let's save it. So let's use what I've shown you earlier, um, and let's go to this one. We have a person object. and it has these things. Age is undefined age. And this is, like I said, this isn't bad code. It's just older code, and most people do say move over to classes. And yeah, I agree that moving over to classes is probably the better thing to do. However, not everyone going to uh, is going to be able to move over to classes, because it's a new concept for them. But the thing is, classes. The reason I want to show you classes is, while classes can be a bit confusing, once you understand what classes are, it becomes pretty easy. So before I start with code, I need to explain what a class is. A class is basically something that describes an object. Um, so it's like saying you have a car class. A car class defines what a car is. You have a vehicle class. Um, so and you have an animal class. In this case, okay, let's first start with this. How can we turn this into a class? So let's start with class person, and let's comment this thing out. Um, so, how do we start? Um, this is what we call a constructor. What a constructor is basically, it's a function that initializes your object. So in this case, what we want to do is constructor, um, first name, last name, undefined, of age, and then add these. So essentially, we already have a working person. So what we can do is const Gary is new person, um, Gary Copper Mono, and age 37. And if we do console log Gary, and then show preview, we actually have a person object with first name, last name, and age. So how can we add uh, a method? Well, let's just first combine this, copy this, paste it here, um, remove this, and do this. Let's then uncomment it, and let's do console log Gary get name. And now we can see that Gary Katopomono is yeah, it does exactly as the original did. So we can also do it with get age, but we're not going to bother too much with it. Let's keep it like this. So this is cool, but okay, let's just turn this back like this. Okay, this works, but what we actually want to do is console log Gary name. And right now it's undefined, but um, well, because sure, this works, but right now we're required to use a method instead of using it as a property. And while it's not a real property, we want to treat the name like a property. So we want to call it like this, and not like get name and then run it as a method. So what we can do is get name, and what we call this a getter. A getter is basically a special kind of function or special kind of method that allows you to get a certain value. In this case, this certain value is the first name plus the last name. Can we assign something to this? Gary Gerto Permono. Let's write this. Yo, mama. No, we can't set the name, which is obvious because yeah, it needs to split it up into a first name and a last name. And there's no functionality for that. So unfortunately, we can't set the new name. So all awesome sauce. But it is still possible to set the full name and split it into awesome as a first name and sauce as a last name. We do that with set name. As a input, we need a value. So how do we do this? Well, it's actually pretty simple, I think. Const name parts is value split. We split it by a space, and then and what we also can do is with middle names is empty array. So what we can do is this first name is name parts shift. This last name is name parts pop. And then this middle names is name parts. And now you can see we were actually able to set the full name just using the setter. So with the setter, you can set a new value to a to one or more variable properties. And okay, so and if we do another console log Gary, we can also see that. So at first person was okay. So okay, oh here it's yeah that this is a bit of a problem, but not really. So if we look here, middle names, why isn't middle names set? All right, awesome, P sauce, and we can see that P is set as a middle name. But as you can see, if we look at this object, it still is first name, last name, middle names. That's because when you change an object, it gets shared over so it's the same as an array. If previously when we assigned an array to something, and we assigned the array to another variable, the array would be shared between both variables. And the same goes for object. If I do const awesome sauce is Gary, and I do awesome sauce and do it like this, then both awesome sauce and Gary gets changed. So let's see, yeah, both are now Gary. So what we actually need to do is we need to clone this object, and that's not really a simple task. You need to customly custom code the clone functionality. Let's check. Okay, I need to check if it's okay. It doesn't. I believe that it doesn't natively exist, but that's no problem. Um, there are multiple ways to clone an object, but yeah, that's something. For example, you can do clone, and then do um, what can you do? Const new instance is new person, first name, last name, age, but we also need to use this first name, this last name, this age, and also new instance middle names is this middle name, or actually not, because middle names is an array, so we need to make a copy of this array as well. And we can do this with the spread operator. That's a good way to copy a array. And then we do return new instance. So now we can do this and then clone, and then we cloned. We basically cloned that object. So now we see Austin's house and Gary. But there are multiple ways to create a clone of an object. So and it's all up to you how to do this. Now this is great, but um, let's say not every person is a programmer, and a programmer has to be able to define their programming languages. So what we can do is class programmer, and copy everything like this. The main problem is we're going to write multiple different codes, and there's also another different problem. So how can we avoid writing double code? Well, we can do extend person, and let's say okay, well, we're not going to make a clone. We're going to copy this person awesome sauce. We don't need to set an age. What we want to do is change this person to a programmer. So if we now save it, basically nothing really changed. The only thing that changed is that I see you fixed your compression. Did I don't believe I actually did anything. Also, hi, four letters. I just saw. I just noticed you've been here. Um, what I do notice, it's oh yeah. I honestly don't know where that came from. That I really didn't change anything, change much about the compression. Also, programming lessons are going to finish up soon. What I'm going to do is I'm going to if once I'm done with the programming lessons, I'm going to rate someone maybe, or I'll be uh, starting a new stream so stopping this stream and starting a new stream to just do a winding down stream, playing a game, maybe Zapekist or something else. But it depends on whether I'm tired or not. Um, because I want to keep the programming streams purely programming. But anyway, So okay, let's save this classes. So let's get back to the classes. So what we have now is we have a programmer that extends person, and programmer has every method, even the getter and setter of person. So that's pretty awesome. Can we do more with it? Well, a programmer has known languages, but how do we define known languages? Well, what we can do is we can do constructor, and then first name, last name, age is undefined, and then copy this and then add this known languages is this. But we don't want, what if we add new properties here? That's going to be annoying, right? Well, first of all, let's do this. Super, first name, last name, and age. So what this does is it first calls the constructor of person with super, and then it calls it runs its own code. So if we now save and look at the programmer Gary, we can now see known languages. However, there is maybe a more efficient way. Look, so what we're seeing here is middle names has been initialized as an empty array, which is correct, but we can simplify this here. So let's do middle names. It is an empty array. Remove this, and if I'm correctly, middle names is now added to the list. So yeah, this is also a way to initialize properties in a class, and we are going to use it more when I'm going to not fist first name. First name. I believe you don't have to define the first name, last name, and age. Age, we can set it to undefined, but we know we're already going to initialize it. You don't have to define these properties in the class. I do it because then I'll know which properties are in person. And the same will be done here. This known languages is empty array, and you don't have to redefine the properties here. You can just leave the properties out, and then you have the properties of the person object. Okay, but there is an issue, because what I can do now, and the same goes with middle names. What if I directly changed known languages? So let's do Gary.known languages is JavaScript, PHP, blah blah blah. That's not going to cause an issue, but okay, known language, it's not really going to cause an issue, but it will cause an issue later on if we want to do something with known languages, like knows language, language, and then we can do known languages dot includes language, and you can then do return. and then we do Gary knows language, JavaScript, it's going to throw an error. And of course we can enforce arrays here, but not everyone will know that it has to be an array. So, okay, known languages is not defined. Okay, true. It has to be this. So if we do console log known languages, and if we use just okay, so this also works. Language count maybe. Return this known languages length. This is going to cause an issue. So if we do language count, it's going to give us 10 instead of 1, like what happens here. So yeah, that's going to be an issue. We don't want people to directly be able to set this value. So what we can do is make this a private property. And how do you make something a private property? By adding a hash. And it has to be everywhere. And as you can now see, you can set known languages, but it won't actually be set. So let's move it here. And let's see how programmer looks like. Known languages array and known languages JavaScript. Yeah. And if I do this, will it cause an issue? Yeah, it will cause an issue. It's because this is a private field. If a private field, if a property is a private field, you can't directly write from it outside the object itself, or outside other objects. So knowing that, we can also do this with middle names, because we don't want the middle names to mess things up. So does this work? Because that's also const awesome2 is awesome sauce clone. Will this throw an error? No, it won't throw an error. Why doesn't this throw an error and something else and directly changing the private property does? Well, because and this is how JavaScript probably differs from most other languages, because both are a person instance. So yeah. So if this is a person instance and the object it's called from is a person instance, it can set this private property. So yeah, so we've created a new person object here within a person object, and so it won't interfere. So if we want to clone Gary, what we can do is const new instance and then do new programmer. What we also can do is new super dot clone, and then do new instance known languages is this known languages. So this way we can't mess things up with private properties. Private properties are really handy for most object-oriented languages. So the the property, the visibility of a property, and also methods and static methods are used not to protect the end user, but mostly to protect programmers working with your code. You have to remember, it's hard to show the intent of the code with if everything is public, then everyone can just change something and break something, and when they break something, they'll go to the developer and say, I broke something. And most of the time it's a mistake that the programming using your code has made themselves. So while private properties and private methods don't ensure that programmers using your code will do stupid things, it will help minimize mistakes being made. So in this case, it prevents other codes from writing a string instead of an array. But how do we actually modify this? Actually, well, we can just use a getter and setter. So let's do get middle names. And what we do is return this middle names join, and set middle names value, and then okay. So if value is an array, then we just set the this new value. However, if value is a string, we need to split it up into smaller parts. So let's first do let's check if value is an array. So oh no, let's let middle names is value. If array is array value, then this then of no. Okay, no, yeah. What we want to do is okay. What we want to do is we want to ensure that the array stored is going to be a new array and not a reference to that particular array instance. So let's do middle names is ... value. Else middle names, and let's first ensure that it will become a string. So right now I'm converting the value to a string, and it might cause some issues, but that's not our problem at this point. Then we do middle names is middle names split, and it splits by spaces. Finally, we do this middle names is middle names. And the same thing can be done with known languages. Known languages, let's paste this here. So this isn't exactly necessary, but what I actually want to do is let's remove this, because this isn't exactly what I want to do. We only want together. We want the getter. So what we are going to do is we're going to join with a comma. What we do want to do is add language And this is one of those use cases where only having a getter is probably the best. Known languages. Okay, language. So if known languages doesn't include a certain language, we only then will we add the language. Push language, because we don't want multiple instances of the JavaScript, and we can't ensure that it shows multiple instances of the because you can do JavaScript with capitals and in lowercase and all those things are considered the same value. But yeah, so next, remove language. Language is, this time we're going to copy this if known, and in this case if it exists, then we're going to do const oh wait, maybe better thing is const language index is, and then this becomes not includes but index of, and I need to check how index of works because I keep forgetting. Sometimes it return value for when a certain value doesn't exist is -1. Otherwise, in other cases, it's false or null. So I need to make sure if it returns a -1 or a null or a 0 or false. So in this case, it's -1. If language index bigger than or equals to 0, then this known languages splice language index, 1. So now it will delete that one language. And we can test it out. So what we have now is Gary language count and Gary known languages. And right now I don't know any language. So what I'm going to do now is Gary add language, JavaScript. Let's also add PHP. Let's also add Haskell. Oh wait, I don't actually know Haskell. So let's also check if remove language works. Oh wait, something didn't go right. Oh wait, I removed JavaScript. So now everything is okay. So what have we done here? We've made a class. We've made class methods, like a clone in this case. We've handled the constructor, setting the properties, having getters and setters, and class extensions. So a programmer is a person. So yeah, that's basically basics of classes. But there's still one thing I want to show you, and I want the reason why class extension is really handy. Let's say you want to check if Gary is a person, or no, well, let's first check if Gary is a programmer. Then we do Gary instance of programmer. It's true. But we also want to check if Gary is a person, and obviously it needs to be true, right? Well, yeah, it's true. So what happens if we instead use awesome sauce? Awesome sauce isn't a programmer. but it is a person. So this one is true, and this one has to be false, right? And indeed, it is false. So this is the reason why, this is also a good reason why you should use class extensions. In other languages, you also have things like interfaces, which also mostly do the same thing. And all these things ensure that you can um, well, how do you say it? All these examples, these are examples of how you can ensure that an object has certain properties and certain methods. For example, it needs to have a clone method. If it doesn't have a clone method, or if it isn't a person, it probably doesn't have a clone method. So yeah, that that basically is everything you need to know about classes. So I don't suppose anyone has any questions. Um, so let's first take a short break. Uh, I might end this stream after took a short break, or now I might actually do a short project to use everything we've used. So yeah, I'll be right back. Maybe I should add an extra a screen called idle screen. Um, yeah, this is good enough for now. Wait. Maybe I should. Okay, text. Uh, be right back. Let's see. Be be no. Be right back. Okay. Right. Video mode. Okay, I need to know what select font, cancel. I need to get the right color. Select color, cancel. Okay. Exit studio mode. Select color. Okay, this is correct. Right, what I also want to do is make it bold. Bold is gold, and make it a bit smaller. Okay. So yeah. So yeah, be right back. Okay, I'm back, and what we're going to do now is, and let's go back to the programming window. So what I'm going to do now is create a new folder. Can I do that without crashing Visual Studio Code? Parts. We're going to make a simple, simple. Well, not exactly card game, but we do want to do a basis for something with cards. So let's start with cars.js. So far we've done inline scripts, but we're going to do it properly. So index.js. No, not JS, index.html. Let's paste it here and where is it? Show preview. So let's remove everything here and do source is cards.js. This is how we generally load in external scripts. I don't know if that's going to be a problem. Okay, if we refresh it, if we remove everything, so if we then do console log x, okay, console clear. So what are we going to do? We're going to first make a card class. So class card. So first, what do we want this card to have? First, of course we want to have the card have a value. Next, what do we also want to have? Well, let's keep it at that. So let's do const test card is new card. Console log test card, and yeah, the value is right now is undefined. Let's set the default value to null. And what I actually want to do is make it a private value. So as you can see, a private value still appears as a value when you do a console log test card, and then but if you do value, you can't actually get the value. So but it still does appear as a private value here. It just means you can't change it from outside the class. So what we also want to do is constructor value, and value is going to be a mandatory value. This value is value. Okay, so next, this new card is going to have a. Okay, no, we're not going to have you set a value. Oh, yeah, we do need to set a value. So the advantage is, okay, so get value. We're only setting a getter. Return this value. And so if we do value, we can get the current value. It's undefined because, yeah. Now, next, class. A poker card. Extends card. And we also already have a value. Now what we want to do is constructor And what we are going to do is, I believe, okay. Poker card. Okay, I need to know what's, oh yeah, okay. So value and suite. So we're also going to do suit. It's suit, not suite. So super value and this suit is suit. So next to string, we're going to add a toString method, and the toString method returns how do we do this? It returns this value. Okay, why does it? Okay, there's a private identifier. That's okay. This value then this suit. So yeah. So now if we do poker card and we do ace heart, then and we do to string. Yeah. We also, you can, like I said, you can also set private methods. So if we do set suit, then what we can do is this set suit, and this means that this method can't be called outside the class. So what we're now going to do is switch suit, and what we're now doing is to lowercase, because we don't care if you use capital H. No, not to lowercase, to uppercase. No, lowercase is good. Case heart, H, case heart. This is going to be this set suit. Okay, I do need to know. I need to figure something out. No, not set suit. This suit is going to be H. Break case S is spade. Case spade. Suit is break case D. Case diamond. This suit is D. And case clubs. This break. space C, and default is going to be hard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this down. Technically, I don't need to add these three values, but it does make it a bit clearer that this refers to heart. So what I also can do is get suit, and then const suit map is okay. So let's see what Unicode is for these values. Mm, okay. Space Unicode. So I do need to have it like this. Okay. What if I do s okay, first let's do this. Console log 2660 was it? Yeah. U2660 clubs. Okay, this suit. Okay, yeah, it's this. Let's do this, and let's add a const suits. So why do I use all caps? Because in general, global constants are defined with capital letters. So C is this. H is empty. S D. And I believe I picked the wrong one. This is, of course, a black spade. So S. So our symbol. Where's the spade? Yep. Okay, so heart, black heart suit 2665. So clubs, black club. 2663 clubs, and let's also add this just in case. And diamond, black diamond, 2666. Did I pick the right heart symbol? Yeah, that's weird. Okay, so if we do get suit, then we can use return suit, this suit, or suits age. I don't know why I put these in quotation marks. This is also a way to define properties, by the way. You can use quotation marks and so, okay, let's go back to creating objects, maybe, or the index. So, say you want to have a property called one to door dash or something, or some property. Then this is also a possibility. There does need to be a comma here, I know. So if I temporarily go back here, and so we can see that that some property is a valid property. What we also can do is say we have a variable name called prop is prop. What we then can do is prop is 1, 2, 3, 4. This is also possible. So as we can see here, 1, 2, 3, 4 is set to prop, and we can also use this. It's something that it isn't something that you'll be using often, but it is something that might pop up sometimes, especially in when you use React and use Redux. It may be handy to know that you can do this as well. But yeah, let's go on. So what we can do now is console log test card. Oh no, why did I do this? And do string. And as you can see, it's the ace of hearts, and you can see that this is a heart symbol. So yeah, this is one thing you can use. This is one use case. So let's see, can we expand it, or will it take too much time to do this? So first, what I want to do is set a value. Let's do value. Or wait, can I also override set value value? So log this value. Okay. Value. What if I do this? Okay, so this is something that might become an issue. Okay. Yeah, this may become this may become a small issue, but yeah. Mm. Hmm. Okay. Um. Okay. So let real value is value, if real value, if number is, okay, no, even better, yeah, number is none plus real value, then okay, first if number is not an, is a number, then if real value smaller than 1, 2, or real value bigger than 10, we'll set the real value is, oh, wait, no. Okay, what we want to do is, yeah, this is, okay, now 1 is ace, then we have jack, queen, and king, so 13. Real value is 1. Else, if real value lowercase, const valid faces. Okay, no, wait. Faces is I need to check something. Because I keep getting flashes of light. Okay. I could have also done it here. Okay, so no, let's move this code over to get real value is value. Then do super this get real value. Return real value. Else, so let's keep this in a regular else. Switch real value to lowercase. Case a or case ace or default. Real value is 1. Right. Case j, case jack. Real value 11. Same goes for queen and king. And now we have this. Now the problem is we need to be able to override this get value. So, and I don't know if it is possible to override this, and then so const value is super value, return value, and see if this works. Must call super constructor in drag class before accessing this. Oh yeah, okay, this isn't, oh crap. Okay, so this value is super value. So what we also, okay, this is getting quite pesky. Yeah, this is going to be a bit small bummer, but that's okay. What we can do is, okay, value is 0, is null. So let's check JavaScript. Okay. All right. This is yeah. So this is an instance where it's a shame that JavaScript doesn't have a something like protected properties and values, because we can't access value from this. So how do we solve this? By using the underscore. Underscore doesn't exactly protect your values, but it does allow us to do things with it. Um, oh wait, maybe what I can do is set value. I don't generally want to do this because um, why not? Because you can change the value whenever you want, and that's not something that's cool. Let's change this to a um, set value is super value is real value. I don't think if this actually works. Okay. Let's see if this works. Does it? No, it doesn't seem to work. Okay, wait, what? Property value implicitly has type any because its set accessor lacks a parameter. Okay. Yeah. So let's change it up again. Let's just return to the underscore. And that's going to be a bummer. So and let's remove this set value. So let's return this to set real value. So this value is this set real value, and let's see. Oh, I can just do this and remove this compress, and yeah, this looks correct. So if I do get value, return x. Okay, the getter can be overridden. So const faces is 1 ace, 11 is jack, 12 queen, 13 is king. Next, return faces this value, this value. So now we can see that it's an ace of hearts. Okay, so that's a lot of things I've done to make something simple work, only because some things just didn't work as intended. That's a bit of a shame, but that's how programming is. Sometimes you need to work around limitations. Okay, so next, what do I want to do? I want to make something cool with it. Const deck, no, not const, class deck, const, not const, class deck. Why do I do this? I'm really tired. Cards. This is an empty array. Add card. And let's say card. If, and in this case, we can now say if card instance of card, then only then will we push this card. If it's not a card, then obviously we don't push it to the deck. Well, okay, let's not call it deck yet. We call it stack. It's okay. We can call it card stack, but we just call it stack. Why do we call it stack? Because we want to do more with this. Also, because of the limitations, we do underscore cards and another underscore cards. Why do we use underscore? So that we can tell ourselves that this is supposed to be a private method. Or no, let's keep it like this. Get cards. And what we want is a copy of the cards array. Return this cards. We don't want a deep copy because a card doesn't change. So okay, so next, so we have a stack and we have cards. So let's also do remove card. And what I also want to do is index is -1. And instead of push, we do splice. So index, comma, 0, comma, card. Remove card. And then index is -1 because we also always want to remove a card from the top of the stack by default. So this cards splice index, comma, 1. And we will return it. Oh no. First const card is if. Okay, let's. I need to check something out. So const test is this. And console log splice test no test splice 0, 1, and the value is still an empty array. So okay, if card length, and because 0 is falsy and anything that isn't 0 is truthy, we can assume that if it's a truthy value that we found a card, and we do return card 0. Now otherwise we do return null. So let's try it out. Const deck is new stack. And then we do const card is new poker card, and we do ace of hearts. Next, we are going to check if we can add a card. Deck add card. Console log get cards. See if all right. Deck get cards, and we indeed get a poker card. I do also need to check something. So okay. Let's continue with this. Okay, deck add card, deck get cards. Okay, that's right. The only shame is that it shows just poker card and not the toString value. That's okay. That's totally fine. So next. Oh, maybe no, I'm not going to do that. Finally, deck remove card, console log deck get cards, and it should return an empty array. That's correct. So yeah, what can we do with this? We can expand it to make, for example, class a deck. The deck extends stack, and once we do that, we can do something like shuffle. We can add a shuffle function so that every card will get shuffled. And how do we do this? Well, it doesn't really matter how we shuffle it. Can we randomly shuffle it? Okay, so what we can do is just const original stack is this get cards, and then we can do const new stack, or no wait, even better, this cards splice 0, and then this cards, oh no, can't do that. Um, hmm. Ooh, this is going to be a bit harder. Um, so okay, maybe it's not going to be that hard. Uh, this card, not this, no, not this card. Uh, empty stack. So what we're now going to do is empty the stack. Then, so this cards splice 0, this cards length. We will return this, then we'll get const original stack is this empty stack. Okay, we have this, and what we're now going to do is, I'm sorry. Next, okay, we're going to do a simple shuffle function. It's going to be really simple. So we're going to use a while loop. What does a while loop do? Well, the while loop runs while the condition here is true. So while true, what this does is it will run this loop indefinitely, and that's not what we want. We want original stack length. So as long as the original stack isn't empty, we're going to continue using doing this stack, this loop. So next, what we're now going to do is this add card, and so what are we going to do? Original stack splice math floor math random times original stack length. Oh, okay. Let's first separate these things. So const card is comma 1. So if card length. And then we're going to add card 0. So, okay. This is a basic deck. We are going to shuffle this deck, but first we need to add cards. So how do we do this? So we have the 4 different suits and 13 different kind of values. So first 4, that value is 0, is 1, value is smaller than or equal to 13, value plus plus. We also want to iterate through each suit. So what we're also going to do is object is suits for each suit. And now what we're going to do is first we need to make a deck. Const deck is new deck. Next we do deck add card new poker card. Value is value, of course, and the suit is suit. So let's check on the value of deck. Console log deck get cards, and we get a big list of poker cards. So let's see. Yeah, so we get some with value 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. Where is my poker? Huh? So wait. Oh, 51. Why is this? Ah, what? What? Oh wait, console log deck get cards. S. This is going to be. Let's see here. Okay. What is it? Yeah, it's okay. So this isn't exactly what I had intended. Okay, maybe I messed up here. Okay, null. And instead of this, we're going to do this cards length, and the same is going here. Null. So let's check the value. Yeah, right now it is in the proper order. So next to string, and what we're now going to do is another feature of another method for another array method. We're going to use this cards. Okay, yeah. So should we use map or reduce? Well, let's do map. So map card and card dot to string. That's weird. Oh no, it's not really weird. So if we do this to string and move this down so that, okay, so now we can see every value from ace to king, from yeah, ace of hearts to the king of spades. No, not spades. This is clubs. Oh, why does it set qui? Okay. Okay, so now we have a string representation. Not really. We need to join them. Join, comma, space. Yeah. So this is a lot better. So now we're going to check if shuffle works. Deck shuffle. Let's check. And it seems to work. It does shuffle the deck. So, yeah. So this is an example of how classes can be handy for your project. So I think I'll be leaving it for leaving it. I'm going to leave it uh, with this. Um, let's see if we're if we can rate someone. Um, okay, let's just switch over um, to the ending screen. So yeah, this concludes today's programming stream. Um, so today we've discussed objects, classes, um, the this keyword, and we've made a simple start for a potential card game. Not that we are actually going to make a card game out of it, but it does allow us to um, make a card game from this project. So okay, let's rate someone. Let's see. Okay, let's check it out. Okay, I'm going to uh, raid Lindsay. Uh, Lindsay is a electronic music producer for fun, and right now is doing a Zedkus stream. So yeah, let's raid Lindsay. So yeah, I hope you guys had fun. I'll be putting this on my VOD channel as well. And so until next time, see you again soon.